My goodness, I've been tagged again, and so soon. So much for my previous rate. Excuse me for a moment while I experience a paradigm shift. YaYaJuke hath tagged me on the subject of freedom of expression. My video, I'm afraid, will not be quite as good as hers. There's freedom of speech, which is the freedom to express one's views with the spoken word. Freedom of the press, which is the freedom to express one's views with the written word. And symbolic freedom of speech, which is the freedom to rely on symbolism to express one's views. There are probably other forms of freedom of expression, but none that come to mind at the moment. Personal liberties mean a great deal to me. Even the personal liberties of people who disagree with me. I would not want to live in any country that did not have them. Indeed, this particular freedom is one I exercise a great deal on my channel. In my videos, I often have a few things to say about religion, logic, and science. I often draw parallels between belief in gods and belief in other mystical beings like leprechauns. In the comment section of one of my videos, we have been discussing logic, and I made this very comparison, and one character brought up a friend of his, who was Irish, and apparently believed in leprechauns. He pointed out that this is her right. I agreed. Is it her right to believe in leprechauns? Yes. Is it her right to hold the opinion that such is logical? Yes. Is it her right to express this view? Yes. Is it her right to try to demonstrate such logic to others? Absolutely. I believe in this right. I support this right. Had I the necessary credentials, I would go to court to defend it, and I would defend it with nothing less than every iota of dogged determination I could muster, tooth and nail, if necessary. But when she tries to demonstrate this logic to me personally, and I can see problems with it, is it my right to point them out? Yes. The freedom of expression is the freedom to disagree. In essence, the freedom to be human. No two people see eye to eye on everything. Such is not human nature. Indeed, I often come under the suspicion that no single individual may be spared occasional inner conflict. Knowing what I know of natural selection, I am led to conclude that such capacity would not be so pervasive were it not in some way decisively beneficial. It must be either a survival adaptation itself, or the indirect result of one. Freedom of expression allows for the open exploration of such conflict. It is what allows us to be human. The society which infringes, impinges, or encroaches upon it does so to the detriment of its own people, and therefore ultimately its own well-being. The critic may argue that, in times past, the freedom of expression and the subsequent tolerance of radical, seemingly heretical ideas once made the floor of the United Nations a center for many speeches against democracy. It once opened the door for the likes of communism, fascism, Nazism, and other intolerant systems of government. That's true. But this hazard, this risk, is precisely what makes democracy better than these other systems of government. When this is discarded in the defense of democracy and tolerant government, it ceases to be either, and is therefore already lost. The proper way to deal with such elements in society is by open opposition, not censorship. To borrow the words of Benjamin Franklin, the price of freedom is perpetual vigilance. Once you have it, you must labor to keep it. The way to oppose elements which take advantage of our principles in an effort to advance their own despotic agendas is to utilize these principles ourselves in their defense. But in order for this to meet with success, the general public must have some skill for differentiating between an argument that holds water and one that doesn't, between one that's logically, rationally sound and one that's only psychologically convincing. This is the main intended objective of education. If you want to drive an empire, you can have a few educated elites and leave the masses ignorant, but if you want to drive a republic, you have to educate the masses. This is what Thomas Jefferson once described as, quote, the only way to prevent all manner of kings and priests from arising among us. Unfortunately, formal education does not necessarily foster logic, but fortunately, logic does not necessarily depend on formal education either. In previous general elections, I considered myself pretty moderate. I heard plenty of arguments on both sides, which sounded pretty convincing to me. But this time, it was different. This time I had been participating in plenty of online debates, a practice I hardly recommend. This active participation put me in a position to learn how to apply reason and to recognize a long list of ways in which reason breaks down. It led to me learning how to differentiate between an argument which is logically sound and one which is only psychologically convincing. Having been the recipient of several different kinds of logical fallacies, I learned to recognize their application elsewhere. This kind of change can open the door for a bit of disenchantment. Once one learns how to recognize just a few such fallacies, one begins to see them everywhere. Why are they so abundant? Because they work. The individual who utilizes them can usually count on getting what he or she wants. So given this time around, the more the conservatives talked, the more breakdowns I noticed in their reasoning. Did I notice the occasional breakdown in a liberal argument? Sure. But here it was the exception, not the rule. Now, I have problems with religion.